And here we go.
Sports!
I listen to you guys all the time.
It's awesome.
I'm in the mood for one of your classic anecdotes.
Give yourselves a round of applause. All right, that's enough. Hey guys, there's someone I want you to meet.
Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun on Off the Hook Sports, represented by T. Scott Jones, SpanksandJones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio. Number one volume. TedRussellLincoln.net.
We're all part of the same team here.
Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the
Well, we're off and running. You might think it's a slow time of the year, but it's not. There's a lot going on. Apparently, Josh Heupel is unappreciated. Maybe appreciated appropriately. That's hard to say. We'll discuss that with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Also, coming up on the program, we will talk a little, as we always do, the state in Tennessee sports history, the stat of the day. We look forward to that. And should Tennessee lobby for an Indiana-style schedule in the SEC? It kind of almost maybe got one to some extent, or will get one. We'll discuss. And Chipper Jones and UT baseball, why that almost happened. That is crazy. Todd Helton was a superstar at Tennessee. Before your time, probably, Caleb. But I can't imagine what Chipper Jones would have been. That would have been amazing. I can tell my Chipper Jones story if you'd like.
Oh, I'd love to hear him. It's not that he almost went to Tennessee. It's that he is sparring with Tennessee fans on Twitter. So
yes, exactly. Okay, so go ahead and click that like and subscribe button. Here's my Chipper Jones story. So I'm carrying stuff for ESPN, Caleb. And I mean carrying stuff. You're working for ESPN, but you're just carrying stuff. That's all you're doing. You're a 21-year-old kid, and you're just carrying stuff around. And I would say attractive young lady. Don't want to sound like somebody weird out there, like P. Diddy. But I would say an attractive young lady said, "Yo, yo, yo," and waved me to her. So I went to her, and I was like, Dave still got it going. Okay. So I go over to her, and she goes, "You allowed to talk to the players?" And I said, "Well, I guess so. They're people. I can walk up to them." She goes, "Tell Chipper to come over here." And I did. You think you did?
no, I don't think he did.
He did.
He did? He came over and talked to you?
No question about not me, her.
Oh, her. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, of course. Well, we know Chipper Jones's history in that regard. Homeboy likes to
With the Hooters waitress?
Yes, he likes to knock up Hooters waitresses.
Yeah, but I just thought it was cool that I was in the middle of it. Aren't you?
Yeah, no, that is pretty dope. Adam, I have to throw out because there was a debate on this, but like Adam, we love you. I respect Todd Helton a lot. I do. I have a lot of respect for Todd Helton, but I'm not sure who had the better career between Jones and Helton. It's Chipper Jones. Chipper Jones is one of the greatest players of all time, and I mean, Chipper Jones was better than Derek Jeter, significantly so.
I'm not saying that, but he was an A-plus player. I think we can all agree that Todd Helton was a B-plus player.
Yes, fair? Todd Helton was a great player. Todd Helton deserved to be in the Hall of Fame based on the Hall of Fame standards, but he ain't Chipper Jones. 3,000 hits, 400 home runs let's say this, 3,000 hits, 400 home runs in Atlanta carries a lot more weight than 3,000 hits, 400 home runs at Coors Field in Colorado, doesn't it?
Okay, hit that like and subscribe button. We greatly appreciate you being a part of the program. Adam, we already appreciate you. And then I think this is interesting that we're having a meeting, our 3:45 a.m. production meeting with me and Caleb Calhoun and a host of associate producers. But we're having this meeting, and Caleb said, I think that Josh Heupel is underappreciated. When I think most of us would say the exact opposite. Why, Caleb?
Many people would say that Josh Heupel has underachieved the last couple of years relative to expectations after that 2022 splash, and they worry whether or not he's a flash in the pan or whether or not he's getting figured out. But on the other side, there's many people that don't take into account and think that it's forgotten what he did when he took over Tennessee. But I think a growing consensus that could be a concern is that when he took over Tennessee, he just happened to have an offense that hadn't been figured out yet. and made an early splash with that. But as defenses have,
Well, I would differ from you there a little bit. I would say they had a quarterback who had a special deep touch that we undervalued at the time.
yes, that part is very, very true. That part is true. And I think Heupel. So you are kind of the team like Hendon Hooker may have fallen out of the sky into Josh Heupel's lap. And so that may be why a lot of people think that Tennessee was better than they should have been early on, too. But Heupel himself is now people are starting to question if Heupel can ever take that next step. And it's not just because of kind of fizzling out at Tennessee a little bit, not matching that second year success. It's also because you look back at what he did at UCF, where he went undefeated his first year and slowly regressed each year. So there are questions over whether or not Chipper Jones, over whether or not Josh Heupel can ever recreate that 2022 magic. There's a fear, put it this way, there's a fear that he might be a Gus Malzahn or Kevin Sumlin. Early splash as head coaches offensively, and then fizzled out towards the end.
Okay, here's why I don't think that's the case is because he's done so against one of the best coached programs in football history. And that, of course, would be Alabama under Nick Saban. I don't want to place too much on one game, but if Tennessee didn't have that victory, I'd probably be in line with you and agree with you.
Okay, so, well, I'm saying I'm making the case. I'm making the case. I'm about to talk about why I think he's underappreciated, but I'm saying the case on the other side. The case for the Alabama game and the Alabama win would be that was the second year of his second year at Tennessee. And so that's what I'm saying. People think that during that time, the argument for those who think he's overrated, not underappreciated. The argument for those who think he's overrated would be that he had a splash his first 2 years because he had a great quarterback in Hendon Hooker, and he had an offense that hadn't fully been figured out yet, and that he hasn't maintained it since then. But yes, I am going to make my case for why he's underappreciated here in just a second.
Fair enough. What did Dylan have to say? He agrees with you.
Heupel has definitely been underappreciated, but it's because the standard is so high here. I truly feel like Heupel may be our version of Mark Richt. Well,
Eesh.
In a certain way, Tennessee had a version.
Think that, then you fire him.
In a certain way, Tennessee had a version of Mark Richt. I mean, think about it. This is a hot take, Dave, but Philip Fulmer's Mark Richt with just with a national title, right?
No.
They're very similar in their careers. If you take away the national, actually, they're almost identical if you take away the national title.
Well, okay, maybe, but didn't you feel like Fulmer's teams were knocking on the doors more often than the Ricks?
Oh, Rick's team was always, I felt, knocking on the door. I just felt they were always going to slip up and screw up when it mattered most in a big game.
Okay. Click that like and subscribe button. We greatly appreciate you being a part of the program. We'll throw the best comments up on the message board. What else, Caleb?
Well, let's just dive into it with today's tough question. Is Josh Heupel underappreciated? Okay.
Today's tough question brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Just absolutely fantastic. They will take care of you, no question about it. banksandjones.com.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. banksandjones.com.
Today's tough question. Boom. You heard that. Now take it. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun.
All right, Caleb, you bounced around just a little bit, so give it to me. What is it? Is it as simple as, is Josh Heupel underappreciated? Is that where you are? Hit the like and subscribe, please. We appreciate it. Go ahead.
Yes, I am just straight up asking the question, and everybody on the message board comment, is Josh Heupel underappreciated? I'm going to say yes. I understand the concerns of the offense fizzling out over the last 2 years with teams somewhat figuring it out, but he did adjust last year with Dylan Sampson in the run game. He got him to the playoff, and we still have to take into account and perspective the state of the program when he took over. He took over a program that was as down as the dumps as you could possibly be in 2021. They had 3 losing seasons in 4 years, the previous 4 years, including going 3-7 in 2020, the COVID year. They had their coach fired in Jeremy Pruitt. They were facing probation. He couldn't recruit at all at that time. And they had a mass exodus of a third of their roster, maybe even half of their roster. So they were completely screwed going into 2021. And Josh Heupel, even with Hendon Hooker, and all credit in the world to Hendon Hooker, that was a miracle work that he pulled off, getting Tennessee to go 7-6 that year. And then the next year went 11-2, barely missed the national title game or the college football playoff when it was just 4 teams, largely because we think South Carolina got a hold of Tennessee signs, and Tennessee wasn't aware of that.
Don't say we. Go ahead.
Oh, you don't think they did?
I don't know well enough to say it. Go ahead.
Well, anyways, a very suspicious game against South Carolina happened that kept them out of the playoff. And so at that point, I think fans were all in. I think there has been a bit of a drop-off with what people see as a vanilla offense now, because defenses have changed the way they play it. And I think people are disappointed with the lack of excitement behind the Josh Heupel offense they thought they were going to have. And because of that, I see a lot of rumblings on Twitter and elsewhere that Heupel's offense is boring. It's been figured out. It's this and that. And in my mind, I'm like, he just made the playoff his 4th year. He just went 10-2 his 4th year at Tennessee. No coach since Philip Fulmer ever had 9 wins in a regular season. And he just did it for this. And he just had 10 wins for the second time in 4 years. So, yes, I think he's underappreciated.
Bobby says Hype isn't underappreciated. The fans love him and cherish him being a part of the dark days. He just needs to beat Georgia and win some road games. Fair point. We'll throw your best messages up on the message board, so go ahead and keep them churning. Let's face it, this isn't even a conversation if Tennessee beats Georgia this season or had last season. It feels like Tennessee has served up second fiddle to another dominant program. It was Alabama previously, it was Florida previously, and now it's Georgia. I think that's the frustration. Can you get over the hump? And if you made me bet, I would say Josh Heupel can get over the hump, but would I choose to lay money on it using your gambling instincts? Caleb, no, I wouldn't.
Wow, so you do underappreciate him. You don't think he can knock that door down?
I hate to split the middle, but I think he's dead even. I mean, I think what he's done now, you should appreciate it because of where Tennessee was, but I don't think you should overappreciate it. Does that make sense?
So, okay, here's a comparison. He's like, if you ever follow the NBA, he's like the coach that develops the team, that gets it to a good point, that makes it start playing well together.
He's Doug Collins.
He's Doug Collins. He's not Phil Jackson, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I get what you're saying. He's Doug Collins.
Now, I mean, I may change in a year. But it's funny you bring up Phil Jackson, who is the guru of aura and culture and all that. And yet, it was Doug Collins who got fired by Michael Jordan, whether or not you like it. And now you see Nico bolting. So I don't know. Maybe it's hard to do. Maybe it's hard to pull off a tough physical program and a kumbaya program. Maybe that's what he's trying to do, and it's not working.
So here's where I think we forget this. Now, this is twofold. You can blame Josh Heupel for losing to Arkansas, but let's not forget that comes down to the Jordan Ross roughing the punter penalty. So think about the craziness of this, Dave. If Jordan Ross doesn't get that roughing the punter penalty, Tennessee goes 11-1 in the regular season. They go to the SEC championship game. Let's say they lose to Texas, which is totally fine, and they're 11-2. They, at that point, would get the 5 seed in the college football playoff, the highest ranked seed of the teams that didn't get a bye, and they would host Clemson in the first round. They're winning that game. Clemson wasn't a good team last year. And
so they're in the national championship game almost.
Well, yeah, because not almost, yes, because in the next week, I'm looking at the next week they play Arizona State. They would have played Arizona State in the quarterfinals. They're beating Arizona State. So they're getting to the Final Four if they just beat Arkansas last year. That's how crazy this scenario was. But by losing to Arkansas in that fluke, again, off the Jordan Ross roughing the punter, they have to go to the eventual national champions in Ohio State, and they lose in a blowout.
Okay. So, underappreciated or no? That's our poll question. We'll give you the results. The show represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios, East Tennessee's largest volume dealer.
Why Banks and Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones. banksandjones.com.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision.
Why Banks and Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee.
Caleb's doing such a great job. I don't want to criticize him, but you're moving all the commercials around. All right, Caleb. So what's the final answer? It is what? Underappreciated or not? I will say no. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'll say he's just about where he should be. Probably following the 2022 season, Josh Heupel was overly appreciated. I think we both agree on that. But how about now?
Well, you say no. I say yes. He is underappreciated, and for one of the very rare moments, fans agree with me. 65% say yes, 35% say no. I want to get to Dylan's super chat real quick. He threw it out. He said, one thing is that Heupel hasn't shown sustainability. 2022 was great, but it's been a slowdown turn since. Always hiring from within and missing on recruiting evaluations is a recipe for eventual axing. Now, Dylan, I warned 3 years ago that there's a big concern about Josh Heupel's evaluating of talent, and I still stand by that. And so I get your point. The reason I say he's still maybe underappreciated, though, is I make the argument that if it gets bad enough, you can get around that because you can just hire a GM who will evaluate all the talent for you.
Okay, but no, he's not going to do that because he's insecure about what happened at Oklahoma. And number two, Tennessee had to take some flyers. We talked about Lane Kiffin for some reason yesterday, and he took some flyers. He took Jansen Jackson. He had to know that the defensive back out of Louisiana had questionable character. He ended up killing a man. So I don't hold it against Josh Heupel that he's had some misses in recruiting. I think that's something that's just going to happen when you take over a program. Now, if you want to say misses in quarterback recruiting, that's totally different. And evaluation, I think that's a real concern.
All right, so we've talked about the misses on the evaluations. I mean, just picking Joe Milton over Hendon Hooker speaks for itself. But what about this, Dave? What about the fact that no offensive lineman that he signed out of high school has yet started a game for him at Tennessee in 4 years?
That's fair. I'll give you another one. Why did Nico start last year or start 2 years ago?
Well, I mean, because of the original sin of signing Joe Milton to begin with. That's why.
Yeah.
He wanted to keep the team together. The team likes Joe Milton, and he would have lost him. Sometimes you got to do it.
So
I get your point, but like they weren't going to be any better with Nico 2 years ago.
When the NCAA had rules, you probably paid Joe Milton to come because he was so talented, but so you could not put him out on the field. You had to play him. But I don't understand why they felt like they had to play him when they had, I believe, a more talented quarterback on the bench.
Sometimes you accept a transition year and you just do it. I think, like, just to give you an example, you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I have a feeling Peyton Manning was better than Jerry Colquitt in '94, but they were going to start Jerry Colquitt for the year. And then Jerry Colquitt got hurt in the opening week, so it didn't matter. But I have a feeling they went with Jerry Colquitt. I'm willing to bet because the team was supportive of Jerry Colquitt for staying at Tennessee through the Heath Schuler years.
I think you think more about Jerry Colquitt than Nico. I kind of think Nico would have been a better player out of the chute.
You see, I think that, but I'm saying sometimes you do a transition year to keep the team together. Kalen DeBoer last year started Jalen Milroe. Do you really think Jalen Milroe was the best quarterback for that offense?
With his experience at that time, yeah, I do.
No, I don't. I think Jalen Milroe was horrible for that offense and was absolute garbage. I want to get to Timothy's super chat real quick because I want to know your thoughts on this. He has a good point. Fans need to quit talking about 2022 because you don't have the same players, so quit talking. It's not fair to the players that they have currently. Well, Timothy, but the question is, look, Josh Heupel is coasting himself of his career off the 2022 season, though. Now, I still think he'd be staying around. The problem with 2022 is that it reset expectations to expect Tennessee to, like, within the next year be the next Alabama. I think a lot of Vol fans thought that, and they haven't seen that yet.
I don't think they thought that. I think they thought challenge the throne at least.
Yeah, I think so too. That's a fair way to put it. Challenge the throne, and they just haven't done it yet, at least with Georgia. But again, as we talked about 2 days ago, Georgia's got some quarterback issues. This is an afternoon kickoff. It's in Knoxville early. Maybe this is the year Tennessee does it.
We'll see. Brainerd Golf Course is right there in Brainerd, north of Chattanooga. Brown Acres Golf Course in Chattanooga. Golf Chattanooga's finest public courses. Tee times available. Click down below. Let's go ahead and move forward to Hot or Cold brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Will Tennessee's offense return to explosive form in 2025? I guess you have to define that in some sense. There were times that Alabama, during their run, correct me if I'm wrong, had enough explosiveness where they were just afraid of you and they walked to safety up. I think that's where Tennessee will be at best. I don't think they're going to be like 2022 where they have a Blitnikoff winner in receiver Jalen Hyatt. I also don't think they'll be as inept as we've seen at times with Nico previously and Joe Milton previously. So I hate to split the middle. I feel like I'm doing this a lot lately, but I am. I'm down the middle. I got to be honest with you. I think they'll have some explosiveness. If you say average yards per play, I think they'll be generally there's a drop off or 1 or 2. It goes to 3 to 8. I would say they'll be in that second category, Caleb.
I think they'll fully return. And I've laid out my list of reasons why. I laid it out yesterday, but I wanted to go down the list, and I wanted to see if Dave thinks my argument, we're going to play hot or cold on whether or not Dave thinks my argument is valid or not valid.
Okay, so if I agree, I'll play.
That's hot.
All right, what do you got?
All right. First reason Tennessee's offense will return to explosive form. The quarterback, most likely Joey Aguilar, but even if it's Jake Merklinger, will be more willing to take shots and allowing his receivers to make plays than Nico was.
Nah, I can't go with you there because I'm going to take it to the next step, and that is just because you're willing to I'll go out there and take shots, but that doesn't mean I'm on a complete reception. So, no, I can't roll with you on that one.
All righty. Next one. First of all, you're wrong. You should roll with me because they're accurate.
Like and subscribe.
You should roll with me on that because they're still accurate enough. All right. Point number 2. Wide receivers will just be better. This is a better receiver class.
That's hot.
Maybe by the end of the year, the best tight end class in the SEC. In all seriousness.
Well, we're getting to tight ends in a second, but wide receivers first.
Okay, but I know I'm tight end receivers, but the receivers I think were hampered by Brew McCoy and the fact that everybody wanted him back, and I appreciate that. I love that. I think it's super cool. But at the end of the day, Caleb, he wasn't the same player he was the year before after the injury.
No, he had lost a step, and Mike Matthews wasn't ready, so they had Brew McCoy in there. But not just Brew McCoy, Dante Thornton was coming back from an injury, and Squirrel White played with a separated shoulder in the slot. None of their receivers were 100%, and that, I think, hurt Nico. This year, Mike Matthews is 100% ready to explode. Braylon Staley should look like he should ball out in the slot. Chris Brazel's back and was productive last year as a possession receiver. I think that's your rotation, plus Boo Carter filling in for Braylon Staley. That's where I'm going with this, and taking all that into account, I think the wide receivers will be better, and that's a big reason why the offense will be more explosive. They haven't had this explosive of a unit at wide receiver since 2022.
That's hot.
All right, what's next, Caleb? Hot or cold brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters. Go ahead.
All right, next, you just brought them up. The tight ends will be more experienced in the passing game. Miles Kitzelman, once he gets 100%, will now be elite because he's been there for 2 years. And Ethan Davis could explode now that he's been there for 2 years. That's multiple options in the passing game at tight end.
If Ethan Davis isn't a pseudo star this season, then something's wrong. Either he was misevaluated or they didn't coach him right. Miles Kitzelman is a solid stud. As a matter of fact, has the first team All SEC come out yet?
No, it hasn't come out yet.
I mean, he'll probably be it, won't he?
Him being injured at the start of the season would be the only drawback. I don't think it's a serious injury. It's not like Jamon McCoy, but he is banged up, so he had to miss the end of spring because of that.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Go ahead, Caleb.
All right, next one. A big one with hot or cold. While the interior blocking is a question, I think the tackles will be better, even with the true freshman starting at right tackle and David Sanders, because you won't have the tackles playing with sprained ankles on both sides for the first half of the year.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
No chance.
Okay.
I can't put a freshman in the SEC and say they're going to be better than last year, Caleb.
All right. Okay, next. This is a big one. Because of Heupel's willingness to do 12 personnel and run Dylan Sampson last year and let Dylan Sampson...
By the way, it gets on my nerves when people just say 12 personnel and don't think what the average person thinks about that. It means one running back, 2 tight ends. Go ahead.
Yes, exactly. Because of his willingness to do that and Dylan Sampson setting the school record for rushing yards and touchdowns, defenses won't sell out to stop the big play like they did last year. They won't play the 3-3-5 shell that they played all year last year, which took away some deep balls.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
I believe that they'll continue to play that until Tennessee breaks them out of it. So you're making an assumption that Tennessee will break them out of it, correct?
I think they broke them out of it last year with Heupel's reliance on the running game.
Maybe. I think they'll be a running football team this year with the new quarterback. And people don't want to hear that, but I think that's going to be the case.
All right. Well, sticking with scheme.
Okay, let me do this. Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Hot or cold?
That's hot.
With Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
There's your bear.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Go ahead, Caleb. See if Coop's got your back.
All righty. Next, I'm going to point out that Josh Heupel has shown a willingness to adjust to how defenses play his offense, and he's going to further adjust this year. And that's evidenced by the fact that he hired Seth Littrell as an analyst who was OU's offensive coordinator last year.
Okay, but what was the original question? What were we shooting for?
Why Tennessee's offense will be more explosive. We'll return to explosivity.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Now, I mean, that's not a reason why they would be more explosive. That might be a reason why they would be better.
Okay, I still say explosive. He is working with Seth Littrell to figure out how to keep this offense explosive with the way defenses have adjusted. Okay. That's what I believe. And the final one, and this is the big one, the NCAA's new rules, which will limit faking injuries, will allow Josh Heupel to bring back his tempo.
That's hot.
There's no question. That probably, against a quality opponent, based off me studying each and every game last year, was probably worth 1.5 possessions.
Oh, I think so.
Against quality. And I'm not talking about, the Chattanoogas of the world where you got them blown out. Doesn't matter. I'm also not talking about previous years where Josh Heupel's teams got upended by a significant margin. I'm talking about when the game's really in hand. The game's within a touchdown, 10 points, and you're driving and Lane Kiffin's guys fake a cramp. That theoretically should go away, right?
Yes. Basically now, here's the way they're doing it. If medical personnel has to come onto the field, then you either waste a timeout or you either burn a timeout or you get a 5-yard delay game penalty. And
you do realize this is a disaster waiting to happen, right?
And why is that?
Because some guy's going to run off the field with a knee that has no ligaments left.
No, because here's the way they're doing it. Here's the way they're doing it. It's not anytime you're down. It's if a player presents himself as injured after the ball is spotted. If medical personnel has to come out onto the field after the ball is spotted. Theoretically, if you're truly hurt, medical personnel will get out onto the field before the ball is spotted, so it won't cost you a timeout. What's been happening is when teams try to run tempo, they spot the ball fast, and that's when players fake the injuries. So this actually is genius.
There's going to be an issue. You don't think there's even going to be an issue?
Nope, not. I think it was beyond genius.
Okay.
What I want to go to another super chat real quick from Timothy because he dropped it in. He said 12 personnel. Heupel totally abandoned that formation at Ohio State. If anything, you should have stayed in a 2 tight ends at 100% of the time. Timothy, I think you're right, but I think when Dylan Sampson went down on the first drive of that game, that changed everything Heupel was trying to do. I don't think he thought Peyton Lewis was ready.
Yep. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com, as we broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios, East Tennessee's largest volume dealers. For Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker. Coming up, Caleb, what do we got next?
We are going to talk about whether or not the Vols should lobby for an Indiana-style schedule in the SEC and whether or not an Indiana-style schedule is possible in the SEC. And just the funny thing that an Indiana-style schedule, Indiana's like the gold standard of easy schedules now.
Yeah, go ahead and put the poll question up. Would you rather see an easy schedule and 12-0, or would you rather see a challenging schedule and 10-2, or something along those lines? The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios, East Tennessee's largest volume dealer.
It's a new year, a new day, and Ted Russell Lincoln has an exciting new offer to share. Right now, get a 2024 Lincoln Navigator with 0% APR for 72 months and up to $4,000 in bonus cash. Or drive away in a new 2024 Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring with 0% APR for 60 months and up to $4,500 in bonus cash. It's time to get excited about the ride. Come and see what a luxury car experience truly is at Ted Russell Lincoln Knoxville.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best in fire prevention.
And here we go.
This was a huge waste of time, like bringing a married guy to Vegas.
Then there's this guy, the Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer, Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
All right, Caleb, before we get to this day in Tennessee sports history, and then 4 Downs brought to you by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln on Parkside Drive and Kingston Pike. What do we have as our poll question? Where do we stand on that?
Would you rather see an easy schedule and guaranteed high seed in the college football playoff, or a hard schedule and let the chips fall where they may?
I'm going to guess that it's 80% playoff.
It is 50-50. Too many of our fan bases have integrity and, believe in, the righteousness of earning your way. They're the type. I am team work smarter, not harder, but our fans are team work smart and hard. They, to our fans and our listeners' credit, they value hard work. I value results. I don't care how you get it. Hook or crook, get the results, baby.
That doesn't make any sense to me. I think you would want a shot in the playoff.
Ted Russell.
Well, you would still have a shot at the playoff. I'm saying no. They're saying hard schedule and let the chips fall. Meaning if you get to the playoff with a hard schedule, you earned your way. I'm like, nah. I want the easy schedule and I want the guaranteed spot in the playoff. Forget that.
All right, here we go. This day in Tennessee sports history is brought to you by our fantastic friends at Newbert Collision Center. For nearly 50 years, Newbert Collision Center has been East Tennessee's best choice for quality repair work and fantastic customer service.
In Tennessee sports history.
It's cool, baby. It's cool.
Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Off the Hook Sports.
June the 6th, 2025. What happened, Caleb, back in the day?
Well, I'm gonna do a somber one, but then I'm gonna have, it's gonna be a weird transition into a joke because of a previous Tennessee coach. So, but today is the 81-year anniversary of D-Day when the Allies stormed the beaches of Normandy to take on the Nazis. I want to remember everybody involved in that. There were a bunch of volunteers, players who played for General Neyland, who stormed the beaches that day. I do believe one of the jersey retirement people lost their lives in the beaches of Normandy, one of the 4 World War II veterans who has their jersey retired. So I want to send a somber message and remember them for that. But I also want to add to that.
Also happens to be my son's birthday.
Oh, really? Happy birthday to your son. But I also would like to add to that, never forget when Derek Dooley compared Tennessee to the Nazis during D-Day. When he said
that was based off a question by me, by the way.
That was based off a question by you. I didn't
All
even know.
the good Dooley quotes, except for the shower one, was that they
Wow.
were based off questions that. That one in particular. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was the visiting players thing.
No, I think it was about Tennessee dealing with like throwing freshmen to the wolves or something like that, and having to deal with like the 2-6 team, and he's like the schedule, and he's like, right now we're the Germans and they're coming. It's like they knew this tough schedule was coming with the team he had, and he's like, basically.
But I think he meant that his players had their head in the sand, is what it sounded like. I mean, it was like you may have read it one way. I read it another way. How did his players read it? Out of 85 scholarship players, if half read it my way, then they're like, man, you're just calling us out that we're scared of the competition that's coming. Because that's the way it sounded to me. It didn't sound like get ready because it's a tough schedule. It sounded like get ready because the Nazis are about to beat your ass.
No, because you're the Nazis and the Allies are about to beat your ass. He was saying
okay.
He was saying his team is like the Nazis. He said we're the Germans in World War II.
Okay. Well, then I don't know. It was
imagine using a reference of America's enemies. Like, imagine being like, right now we're the suicide bombers, and I mean, like, he said we're the Nazis, basically.
Wow.
Which been like, Derek, which side were you on in World War II? Which side does your? Yeah, no, he said they were like the Nazis.
So we saw what Tennessee did last year in the college football playoff. They played the toughest team as it played out in the nation at their place, and that didn't go well. We saw what happened to Indiana. They made the college football playoff tournament despite a pretty lackluster schedule. So my question is, 4 Downs, brought to you by our good friends at Ted Russell Ford and Ted Russell Ford Lincoln. You can check them out. Go to tedrussellford.net, tedrusselllincoln.net. My question is Tennessee better off playing a soft schedule like Indiana did, or a difficult schedule to get ready for the playoffs, Caleb?
Oh, I think they're better off playing a soft schedule. And I think with the SEC doing a 2-6 or 3-6 format, depending on whether or not they play 8 or 9 games going forward, Tennessee should fight like hell to get the easiest schedule possible. Forget the rivalries. Just try to get the 3 easiest or 2 easiest teams you can possibly play in the conference. And that is the most important thing.
Okay, how can they do that? 4 Downs brought to you by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln on Parkside Drive and Kingston Pike.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Thanks, Coop. Let's go ahead and start with this.
Coop here. First down.
First down. In order to make the college football playoff an annual event, Tennessee should make Vanderbilt and Kentucky permanent opponents. South Carolina would go to number 3. Caleb, I'm kind of fond of that, but I know what you're going to dive into maybe later if you want to now, and that would be Alabama not on the annual schedule, which would be a shame in my opinion.
Bye, Tennessee Alabama series. I didn't say I didn't ruin tradition. The expanded playoff and the mega conferences did. And like I said yesterday, the most important thing is getting the easiest path to the playoff. The playoff is all that matters because college football made this sport all about the playoff. So you should make the sport all about the playoff. And if you're only going to play 2 permanent rivals, it should be Vanderbilt and Kentucky. And if you're going to play 3, it should be South Carolina. You should lobby really hard and say, South Carolina only has Georgia as a natural rival in the SEC. You should make Tennessee one of those other rivals because South Carolina is not going anywhere. So all in, and by the way, South Carolina is a recruiting advantage. You get to go into South Carolina every other year.
That is true.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
Make the schedule as easy as possible in non-conference. That would mean more Chattanoogas, more Kent States. I can't go with you there. I think you deserve something. I'm fine with the Syracuse level. Syracuse probably isn't going to upset Tennessee, but I wouldn't go any lower than that.
Okay. Here's how I'm going in. I'm saying through the Indiana model last year where they played 3 group of 5 schools. If you go to 9 conference games, don't play any Power 5 schools non-conference. None. 0. Now, if
they move to 9, I'm okay with that.
Yes. Now, if you play 8 conference games, you're required to play a Power 5 opponent. The SEC requires you to. Find the easiest Power 5 school possible and play them every year. Find Wake Forest, okay? Get Wake Forest at home every single year. And here's the other part. Refuse to play any non-conference game, Dave, away from home. Okay, play 4 home non-conference games, 8 home games on the year.
Okay, my question for you, is this even possible given how difficult the SEC is? I mean, you're still going to have a mandatory 8 permanent opponents. So I'll ask Caleb that. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com, as we broadcast from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios. 30 seconds. Tell you why Tennessee can still go undefeated.
Like a blast from the past, the Super Dealer is back. Look to the skies, Knoxville. The Super Dealer is fighting for price, service, and the American made. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer. Save up to $4,350 on a new Ford F-150 XLT or get into a new Ford Ranger XLT with no payments for 90 days. Come see the Super Dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
All right, third down is this. Which SEC teams have the closest to an Indiana schedule? You say Missouri?
Well, no. That's fourth down. The third down is this even possible? Or did you flip those around? Sorry, I was confused.
Go ahead.
Is that the one? Is
what? No, let's go. Okay.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Is it even possible to do what you're saying to do, given how difficult the SEC is?
Not really. And it's not because you can get lucky because Indiana got lucky last year in the sense that they only played 1 power team in the Big Ten. You can get lucky and play one power playoff caliber team in the SEC. The problem is, Dave, and we talked about this for a while, if you play Indiana played the 8 worst teams in the Big Ten. As you know, the 8 worst teams in the 18-team Big Ten is basically their group of 5 caliber teams, right? They're bad football teams. If you were to play the 8 worst teams or 7 worst teams in the SEC, at least 5 of them would be competing for a top 25 spot at the end of the year.
Yeah, you're still going to be pretty sore after the game is the way I look at it, even Vanderbilt.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. There's Vanderbilt. Let's take the worst team in the SEC last year, which was probably Kentucky. There were about 7 Kentuckys in the Big Ten. There's usually just 1 or 2 in any given year in the SEC that's that bad. And so even if you do have a format where you only play one of the power teams, you play a bunch of, and I've always talked about this, one of the flaws in schedule strength, Dave, to me, with the committee only looks at quality wins. I think the underrated part is they don't take into account the grind of just week in and week out playing maybe not great teams, but above average teams and no bad teams. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've thought about that, but I don't know how you could do it. I actually have contemplated that on a Saturday afternoon. How, if you have Tennessee face, I'm just going to throw something out there. Like you have a SEC team face Mississippi State.
That was the worst team in the SEC. I should have said Mississippi State. Sorry.
Oh, hold on. Mississippi State, South Carolina, Missouri, Texas A&M. Those aren't 4 great teams, but they're going to be physical teams, right?
Yeah.
And you have that gauntlet of running through them. I actually thought about that last year sitting on my couch watching football.
And in any given year, one of those teams will be bad on the level of the 8 bad teams Indiana played in the Big Ten, but only one. The other 3 will be good.
Yeah, but even bad is guys are playing physical to try to get to the NFL.
That is true. You're right. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like playing at Chattanooga where the guy across from you is 40 pounds lighter.
No.
I mean, that's the big difference. I mean, the guy across from you is a pretty talented guy in the whenever you're playing in the SEC, even with Vanderbilt nowadays. But it's not like you're just playing a non-conference opponent. That to me is a different level of bad most of the time.
Totally agree. So I think we're both in agreement that it's not really possible to get an Indiana-style schedule in the SEC, is it? No matter how hard you want to make it, or no matter how hard you want to try.
Unless the SEC gets top-heavy, which could happen given the disbursement of money in the coming years. I hope it doesn't happen. I'm still fine with having a upper-tier SEC and not, but it could happen, but it's not going to happen in 2025.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. 4th down.
Which SEC teams have the closest to an Indiana schedule this year?
I did as much research as I could on this, and
is the answer nobody?
The answer is one team, and that team is Missouri. And I'm just going to run down Missouri's schedule for you real quick, Dave. Let me just give you their non-conference schedule. You ready for their non-conference schedule?
All right, take your time. I'll smoke a cigarette.
Central Arkansas, Kansas, Louisiana, and UMass all at home. Yeah. Their regular schedule, they get South Carolina, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Arkansas. The only team that is a serious contender for the playoff on paper going into this year that they play is Alabama. That is, and by the way, that's still tougher than Indiana's schedule last year, but that's about as close to Indiana's schedule as you could get in the SEC.
Yep, there you go. Hit that like and subscribe button. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Stay tuned. Caleb's done his research. Coming up, Oklahoma reporter R.J. Young says Tennessee is a revenge game for the Sooners. And why? We'll dive into that. Stay tuned. 2 minutes off the hook sports.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. banksandjones.com.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at NFC1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
A guy with a lot of jobs, but this one is the most important.
This is not government work. As such, I treat it with care and attention.
Until someone else calls. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
Welcome back to the program with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Here we go. As Caleb has, we've already had this day, and we've had Saturday day. What do we have?
No, we had this day earlier.
All right. So this day in Tennessee sports history, stat of the day coming up. People saying that I'm 12 personnel on the message board.
I don't even know what that means to be. Like, is that a sexual reference?
I think that means I have 2 big tight ends. Know what it means?
How could you have 2? Never mind.
Yeah. No, 2 big tight ends, and I'm ready to split out when needed.
Oh man, looking for some looking for some big sacks this week.
Don't do it. All right. Why doesn't Tennessee play Indiana every year? That's not the worst idea. We discussed about how Indiana had the easiest trip to the playoffs. We've had that discussion with Memphis before, that they should twist their arm and make them play in basketball twice a year, so they play football once a year. But why not twist Indiana's arm and say, play Tennessee as a home and home at the very least once a year, and make it a football game as well? It's not a bad idea.
It's not that great in Indiana.
Which style?
For football. Oh, you want
to? My question, it would be more advantageous. With what I'm proposing, you're right. It'd be more advantageous in basketball because you play Indiana and you get some national exposure. Not that they're hurting for that, but they were hurting for that about 5 years ago. So would you play Indiana and twist their arm and say this is a football series as well? I don't hate that idea.
I just don't think the advantages are the same, because I don't think that I think there's better places to go to play for basketball, largely because you can just go to some of the urban areas just across the country, play Georgetown, get into the DC market, you know what I mean? And basketball. And I know you can't do that with football as much for them, but like play Georgetown and be like, hey, we'll let you guys be one of our football home games for a year. And we'll pay you money to come play us in football so we can beat the living what out of you. And then we should do a home and home in basketball.
All right. Here we go. The show represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, BanksandJones.com. Oklahoma's reporter, R.J. Young, says Tennessee is a revenge game for Oklahoma. What's your initial thoughts on that, Caleb?
R.J. Young was very big on saying, and I'm going to share a little clip of what he said in a second, but he's making the argument that Oklahoma won't miss on quarterbacks twice. He's making the argument that if Jackson Arnold had not been such a bust, and had they had the right quarterback at the start of the season, they would have been much better last year and maybe even have beaten Tennessee. And he did accurately point out that Nico Iamaleava was not great when Tennessee beat Oklahoma last year. I think he forgot the fact that Tennessee took their foot off the gas pretty quickly in that game.
Well, and that wasn't Nico's fault. That was the offensive tackle's fault. What are his comments?
All right, so here are his comments, and this is what he said. This is R.J. Young talking about Oklahoma and Tennessee. Here's a quick segment from him.
You think we gonna miss a quarterback for a second year in a row? All the money they paying that boy? Ain't no way. Ain't no way. I'm not even gonna entertain it. Gonna get you back. That's what I'm trying to tell Tennessee fans. I like them. I do. I enjoy Tennessee fans. I enjoy volunteer football, just not against Oklahoma. I didn't need not damn one of that. No. I look.
Thanks to Restore. Prime time.
I love when ads play right in the middle. Just give me a second.
I didn't want to be bold.
Here we go.
I tend to think that Tennessee got a little too big for its britches just a couple of times, right? They beat Bama and they beat Oklahoma and they think they about something. And then, well, Ohio State got to show you what that's really like.
Okay, so just FYI, because somebody posted on the message board, who is RJ Young? I know who he is. You know who he is.
Yes, RJ Young. And I encourage you guys to check out his podcast, Adapt and Respond with RJ Young. He's a college football commentator on YouTube and covers Oklahoma. and does a really good job and makes a lot of great points. I'm a fan of his, and so that's why I actually played this, because I thought it was very interesting what he said. Honestly,
Well, I mean, but it's blatantly obvious, of course. Well, number one, Tennessee should be a revenge game. What happened last year? Tennessee won. Number two, if I'm RJ Young, and I'm not like this, I'm not a former player, so I don't have to be like this, and neither does Caleb. But if I'm RJ Young and I'm a former player and I like my access to the program, I'm going to say that there's no way their coaching staff is going to miss on a quarterback 2 years in a row. That's what I'm going to say. Whether or not I believe it, that's not what I'm going to say.
Well, and there's also the problem with, from my perspective, it is possible they missed on Jackson Arnold, Dave. It's also possible that Jackson Arnold was in a bad situation with Seth Littrell being the offensive coordinator for Brent Venables, and that was a clash because Brent Venables doesn't know what he's doing or what situation of football he wants to run offensively.
Well, if that's the case, does it go away?
No, I don't think it goes away. I mean, they fired Seth Littrell. Ben Arbuckle is now the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, and the quarterback they brought in was John Mateer from Washington State, who was really, really good last year and is a dangerous quarterback. So we will find out. Here's one good point from RJ Young is you think they're going to miss on it twice. I'm not saying they're going to miss on a quarterback twice, because the odds are really low that you would miss on two like highly touted quarterbacks twice. But I will say that they don't have the offensive rhythm or the chemistry necessary among the coaching staff for quarterbacks to succeed at Oklahoma, because I think Brent Venables is clashing with whoever he's hiring to run the offense, because let's be honest, Seth Littrell was from the Heupel. Think about this for a minute, Dave. Seth Littrell was from the Heupel tree, the Art Briles veer and shoot system, which is tempo based, right?
Yes.
Brent Venables is a defensive coordinator. You think he wanted to run that tempo in practice? Of course not. So, but then Seth Littrell can't run his offense. So why would Brent Venables, who wants to be a defensive-minded team, hire a coach to be his offensive coordinator that's going to run tempo? He doesn't know what he's doing or how to mesh his offensive coordinator with the identity of his program. And that's why I think there's going to be a disaster with John Mateer.
I believe that Oklahoma needs a Gene Chizik type team with a Cam Newton at quarterback, a guy that can make 4 or 5 plays off schedule that you're like, whoa, that really helped out a lot. Without that, I don't think they're going to have enough talent to compete, especially with the Alabamas and Georgia. But I'll take it a step further. If Florida comes up, Tennessee comes up like they've been in the past 25 years, I don't think they can compete with them either. I think that because of that state's in-state balance base, and I know they go into Texas, I think they have to have a quarterback who could do something special. Jackson Arnold wasn't that guy, and I doubt they have that guy on their roster.
And I doubt he'd be able to do something special like Cam Newton was, because here's the difference, and this is what I'm getting at. Gene Chizik, whatever else you think about him, and I don't think highly of Gene Chizik. I don't think he's that bright. But I'll say this. When he got Cam Newton, he stepped back and was a mascot and let Gus Malzahn coach Cam Newton and run that offense and go win a national title, right?
Yep. And that's what I mean. I mean, you have to be smart enough to do that.
Yes. Do you think Brent Venables would step back and be a mascot, or do you think he's like Jeremy Pruitt, where he wants to like make this a defensive identity team no matter what, and he needs the offensive coordinator to mold to that? And
no. I mean, I think you're maybe misremembering that Auburn team just a little bit. I mean, that Auburn team was defensive minded in their decision making. They relied on Cam Newton to turn in 3 or 4 plays that were just crazy.
Right, but do you think Brent Venables would take his hands off the program to let a Cam Newton do what Cam Newton does?
I guess I'd give him the benefit of the doubt, but you may be right.
Because that was, and you talked about this before, I mean, we know Jeremy Pruitt did. And one of the things we talk about the cheating with Jeremy Pruitt, the biggest thing is he didn't take his hands off the offense at all, ever, when he was at Tennessee. And that's why he was so insistent on Jared Garantano starting every game. And the offense just wasn't working with Jim Chaney. And so we know that. We also know, as you pointed out, Philip Fulmer wanted to be a CEO at Tennessee, but he also wanted to have his hands all over the offense. So he went for Dave Clawson, and the dynamics didn't work at all with that, when he could have hired Gus Malzahn and just turned over the whole offense to him.
Okay, bank on it. Brought to you by Commercial Bank. Tennessee will be a defensive-minded team in 2025.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
All right. I don't think that Auburn's anywhere close to being a perennial championship contender. You
mean Oklahoma?
Oh, Oklahoma. Sorry.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I think you accidentally said Tennessee at the start. I think you meant Oklahoma, too, for defensive-minded team. I agree. Oklahoma's not anywhere close to being a perennial contender. And I'll go even a step further. I'm going to play bank on it here. Oklahoma's not going to be a tough game for Tennessee this year. I think Tennessee's going to dog walk them in Neyland, honestly. And so, I mean, the only way it's a tough game is if Tennessee by November has struggled so severely through the first part of the season where the players just quit on the season. And I don't really see that happening. So I think that I don't think that, I think Tennessee absolutely obliterates Oklahoma. I think Brent Venables is fired before the end of the year.
I won't say before the end of the year, but I'll say before January 1. How about that?
Oh, I could go there. Who gets fired first, Brent Venables or Billy Napier?
And I get the feeling that Florida didn't have their NIL in line from people I've talked to. And not only does that hurt at NIL, but that also isn't good when it comes to just overall budgetary issues. And there might be a financial decision. Let me just tell you, the worst thing you can ever do is make a financial decision on football. The worst thing you can ever do is say, keep Derek Dooley for another year because his buyout's $40 million, or keep Bozo Joe another year because his buyout's $40 million. I think that's where Billy Napier and the Gators are backed into. I think that's the wall they're backed into, Caleb. So I think he keeps his job with like an 8-win season, but you could definitely argue that he should be fired before anybody at Oklahoma. Bottom line is Oklahoma's got the money, and if they want to make a change, they can, and they won't even blink twice about it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Oklahoma's got the money. Brent Venables hasn't been coaching as long. I think. Well, Brent Venables I think came cheaper than Billy Napier did, and I don't know the exact salaries, but I do believe Brent Venables was cheaper. You guys can correct me on that if I was wrong. I may be wrong on that, but I think Oklahoma won't have the same trouble firing Brent Venables in general, and I think it's going to be more obvious too. I think Florida is doing something that they've never ever done before, which is Florida with Billy Napier. I can tell you what they believe they have in Billy Napier, Dave, and you probably think they're wrong on this, and I probably agree with you. They don't believe they bought a crypto stock like Bitcoin. You know, so many people buy Bitcoin and it shoots up and shoots down, and it's wild and how it goes off and goes crazy. They believe they bought a very reliable stock with a reliable 3% return, and it's just going to keep getting a return of 3%. So while everybody else is doing the crypto stocks and trying to buy and sell and losing a ton of money or getting a ton of money, Florida is just staying steady, growing their value. That's what they believe they're doing with Billy Napier. Now, I think you and I both believe, no, they bought a stock that they didn't buy stock that's going up. They bought stock that's going down. They bought GameStop. And so more than anything. But they believe they bought stock that's just slowly but surely over time increasing its value and returns.
We'll see. That's not the sense that I get from Billy Napier and crew. Chipper Jones has some involvement with UT baseball. What is that all about? It'll be What the H, brought to you by Rick Terry and Rick Terry Jewelry Design. Check out their jewelry. I know it's this time of season where a lot of weddings, a lot of holidays are coming up. Rick Terry and Rick Terry Jewelry Design. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Give us 2 minutes off the hook sports with Caleb Calhoun and Dave Hooker.
Like a blast from the past, the Super Dealer is back. Look to the skies, Knoxville. The Super Dealer is fighting for price, service, and the American-made. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer. Save up to $4,350 on a new Ford F-150 XLT, or get into a new Ford Ranger XLT with no payments for 90 days. Come see the Super Dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive or Kingston Pike.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best in fire prevention.
A guy with a lot of jobs, but this one is the most important.
This is not government work. As such, I treat it with care and attention.
Until someone else calls. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
People are asking us on the message board what the crowns mean that are on the message board.
I don't know. That's a YouTube thing. I have no idea where that comes from at all. I really don't. So, but I'm loving it. So
yeah,
you know,
keep commenting more. That's your key. Is to
yes,
get more crowns.
It means you guys are all kings.
Yeah. A couple of comments. Latest on the message board. Somebody told me in ESPN LA chat that crowns are supposedly a community leaderboard, but that can't be correct because I've had one before. And now he might be right, Blind Squirrel. Seems like it, wouldn't that? Okay. Blind Squirrel also asked, Dave, did Tony Vitello actually reach out to CJ to resolve this alleged Twitter X feud? Can you help with that, Caleb?
Well, this is a rock and a hard place, I think, for a lot of Tennessee Volunteers fans, because Dave, as you probably know more than I do, if Knoxville is tied to a professional sports market, it's probably the Atlanta market, right? More than any other one. I know Cincinnati and Nashville, but really it's Atlanta.
I would say that Nashville's making a push just over the last 5 years, but yes, for the most part, in my life.
So baseball, it's Braves country. Knoxville is, right? More than any other sport, it's Braves country. So, you know, in Atlanta, Braves country, and Knoxville, Chipper Jones is the greatest Atlanta Brave of all time. He is, I didn't say greatest Brave because that would be Hank Aaron, but greatest Atlanta Brave of all time. So I know this is tough for some fans, and Chipper Jones is a Florida fan at heart. But Chipper Jones decided to take to Twitter to criticize, without naming anybody, to criticize the behavior of teams in the college baseball tournament. His first tweet, and I'm going to run through the tweets and you guys give me your thoughts. He first says, spent quite a bit of time.
Some of first Chipper Jones story.
Yeah. Is this the one where the woman brought him over?
Yeah.
Well, you told at the beginning of the show.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Yes.
I thought I just told you. Sometimes I don't remember what I said on the air or not. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So Chipper Jones tweeted out, spent quite a bit of time watching college baseball this weekend. I will only watch a select few teams from here on out. Reason? They have coaches that respect the game and their opponents and demand the same of their players. Any team that doesn't wear the uni correctly, taunts the other team, and has a coach that condones this behavior is a disgrace to the game. Big fan of Schnall at Coastal Carolina. Him and his team represent what college baseball should be like. Well done, sir. You stand for proper behavior.
So this is a backhanded slap at Tony Vitello for jumping and celebrating and for doing things that he does, and that is allows his players to be a little wild as well. I think it's pretty obvious that Chipper Jones didn't have to actually name Tony Vitello for it to be directed at Tony Vitello.
Yes, Tennessee's the most famous team for doing this. Chipper Jones is a Florida fan. But Chipper Jones decided to gaslight us all and say it wasn't about Tennessee because Tennessee, as you know, Dave, as we all know, as many media members know, when Vol Twitter comes for you, they come for you. Okay? Like Vol Twitter is more hardcore than Bernie Bro Twitter was back in the day, than MAGA Twitter is now. That is the most hardcore fan base possible, and they will rip you to shreds on Vol Twitter.
So how did it go for Chipper?
So Vol Twitter came out and found out about the Hooters waitress that he knocked up back in the day, and that was all everybody was talking about for like a day on Twitter. And Chipper tweets out, quote, getting smoke from 3 fan bases over my post. 3 and only 3. Never mentioned a school by name other than complimenting Coastal Carolina. Anyone want to venture a guess as to who they are? Well, everybody knows it's Tennessee. But a Vol fan responds, you used to be one of my favorites, and now you're picking fights with fan bases on the internet. Insane downfall. Chipper Jones replies, which fan base? And then he goes, I was actually speaking of someone else, FYI. There are other games played outside of Knoxville. You're big on personal attacks, huh? Which is to try to let Tennessee fans know that they're not the only fan base in town. And then Chipper Jones even doubled down and said, a lot of speculation on who I was speaking of in my post, so let's get it out of the way. I was disappointed in how UF coach Sully handled the situation of the time change in the CC region. I felt it could have been addressed differently. As I sat with my Georgia alum friend watching the Dogs, Oklahoma State, the uniforms were a mess, taunting, bat flipping, talking was above and beyond normal. My friend who played baseball at Georgia agreed, and a Florida State pitcher tells a Mississippi State pitcher to sit the F down, you inbred B word. I believe these to be excessive and unsportsmanlike. I am from Florida. I am a Gator at heart. I have a ton of respect for FSU, played like Link Jarrett, and Georgia has become my second favorite because of all my relationships. This is not personal in any way, shape, or form. I'm hearing of other instances as well, but these are the ones that I witnessed. Whenever coaches have to issue apologies, I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. Want to wish the best of luck to the rest of the teams in the tournament. Have fun with your teammates, respect your opponent, and respect the game. So he names a bunch of people, and he's trying to make it clear he wasn't talking about Tennessee. I call BS.
Well, he probably was talking about Tennessee. They have that reputation. My guess is that he saw a little bit of something over the weekend and threw Tennessee under the bus because of 2 years ago, they were super over the top, and even I criticized them. That would be my guess, Caleb. And then he did that, and then he felt like, oh man, that was kind of retro criticism, and now people are coming at me. I think I'm just going to go Hooters.
Oh, man. That's a good one. I love the way you threw that in there. That's a good one.
By the way, do you go with the breaded wings or the naked wings?
You know, I haven't been to a Hooters in 12 years, believe it or not.
But
I'd probably go with the breaded wings. Yeah, I go with the breaded wings. Anyways, the funny thing is the reason it's a little weird on this is even if he's saying that, you do realize he left out the most offensive thing a coach or player did, which was Tennessee facing Wake Forest last week when Wake Forest coach was caught yelling a homophobic slur at Tennessee first baseman Andrew Fisher. I'm not going to say the word, but Dave, he called him the F word. Like, yelled at it from the dugout. And in my mind, I'm like, if you're going to name ones, why wouldn't you name that? Where a coach called a player a slur. I mean, that's probably the worst, and he left that one out. I think he is trying to not get called that he went after Vol Twitter because I think I like Chipper. Chipper's a typical jock, though. He's kind of a quiet guy. He doesn't really like the smoke on Twitter. He doesn't like that type of attention. So I don't think he likes what Vol Twitter did to him, honestly.
No, and go after him. What's his Twitter handle? Can we put that up on the screen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let me pull it up now. I believe it's the real CJ10, but yeah, it's at real CJ10. I'm going to put that up now, and I'll set up the poll question.
No relation to CJ Watson, right?
I doubt it. Is Chipper Jones lying? about not implicating Tennessee in his critical college baseball tweet.
There you go. It's on our YouTube page. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios weekdays at 10. We look forward to visiting with you. A big week next week as we draw closer to SEC Media Days in Atlanta. Is it Atlanta this year, Caleb?
Yeah, it's in Atlanta.
About time. Brought to you by our good friends at Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios. Have a great weekend, everyone.